Alright, so we're on week 6 of the Modern Sporting Rifle class. This video is really just going to be going over some stuff that I've kind of touched on in the past videos. So you'll notice that my videos are kind of becoming a little bit redundant, but with this video we're going over field stripping, which I kind of touched on previously, but this one I'm going to explain it all. We also want to go over additional work, which I've kind of jumped the gun on that one. I put a lot of my aftermarket parts on this build already, as you've seen. After shooting it and playing with it a lot, there's some stuff that I still feel like I need to change out, the bipods being one of them. And then we're going to talk about triggers again, this time more in depth. I'll talk about the other triggers I have in my other ARs as well. And then lastly is gas block dimpling, which is the barrel that this build kit came with already had a dimpled barrel, so I'm pretty sure my 5.56 barrel is not. That's a ballistics advantage 14.5, so I might do a video in the future going over the basics on how to dimple your barrel for a gas block. So the concept behind field stripping is it's kind of like the extent that you can disassemble the firearm without tools. Now in basic training and in our annual CADM courses, they say it's called field stripping because it's like what you would do in the field. How accurate that is, I don't know, but it seems pretty reasonable to me because I feel like the only part that you'd really need a tool for, if anything, would be taking the firing pin retaining pin out of the bolt carrier group. That you could do with a round from your magazine. That is if the tip of your bullet's sharp enough. I won't be using that today because I don't keep ammunition in my workspace, so I might pull something out for that. I don't know, I might be able to do it with my fingernails, we'll see. I'll go ahead and demonstrate a field strip for you guys right now though. YouTube hasn't yelled at me yet for putting stuff on their platform that they don't want on there yet, but we'll see. I guess we'll be pushing our limits this time. So in our CADM training, this is basically what they teach us. It's like nails on a chalkboard. So essentially, this is what a field stripped AR platform firearm is going to look like. This is basically the way they teach us to clean our guns in our CADM courses in the military and basic training. Now the next thing I want to talk about is, replacement parts, upgrades, or alterations that I plan on doing. So like I said in the last video, a trigger upgrade is typically what I do when I build a new AR, and I'll usually do that before even taking it to the range for the first time. So with this one, I went ahead and swapped out the mil-spec trigger with a Timney trigger. Now the mil-spec trigger is not terrible. It's a good trigger, good old reliable as they say. But this got taken out. Got a good old Timney trigger in there now. It's a drop-in 3-pound trigger. It's a single stage, but I'll get into that in a second. Two main things that I want to do with this is I want to get a heavier buffer, or if this one can take more weights, I'll put more weights in this one. Mainly because I plan to shoot this suppressed most of the time, but we'll see how the gas block performs, and I might not have to do that. The next thing is the bipod. So I bought this bipod with a Cabela's store credit that I had. I know it's a good bipod, but it's just it doesn't have the robust and rigidity that I would want out of a bipod. So I think I might just go with the Magpul one. I just gotta get a feel. My issue with this one is it has this knob here that you can adjust the tension on it, but even when it's like already tightened completely, it still moves around a little bit, which I'm not really a big fan of. So I'm hoping I can find one that will stay put when it's tightened down, and I can break it loose and move freely like that. So other than that, I have these the BCM Gunfighter little rail grips here. These are just M-LOK pieces of plastic. You got a Magpul foregrip, which I made the mistake of buying a rail mounted one, so I had to buy M-LOK to Picatinny adapter. And then we also there's also all kinds of scope mounts. This is also another upgrade I might want to do, or that I will do, but it's gonna be a while because the scope rings that I want are like $500 to $600. It's from Scalar Works. Different pistol grips. Now the AR-10 or LR-308 platform, as far as I know, will take normal AR pistol grips, because this is an AR pistol grip and it fits on here fine, so that's very convenient. And then you have stocks. So this was supposed to be like an Escape from Tarkov, like meta build, sort of. So I went with this stock, and I actually really like this stock more than just because it's what I use in the game, but fallen in love with that one pretty good. And back to the trigger. Like I said, this is a drop-in Timney trigger. You don't have to go with a drop-in trigger to get like a better trigger feel or like a lighter trigger pull. Me personally, I don't really go after a light trigger pull. I go off of the way the reset is. That's what's the most important thing to me. I really like Timney triggers, or this one in particular, because there's no take up. When there's no pressure on it, it's already at the wall, and then when you put whatever light amount of pressure you need to put on it, it's gonna break right there. And when it resets, this is where I talk about a really good reset. I love the reset on this trigger.
Nice.
It's minimal. So that's what got me sold on that one. Now, as far as gas block dimpling goes, a lot of barrels, I don't know if you can see the gas block in there, but they won't have a notch for these fasteners to really like index to. So what you can do is you can put in like pretty much like an index dimple on the barrel itself for this rearward fastener, because that's going to be the one in line with the gas port itself. This had a dimple on it already, and so that kind of eliminated the need to use like a feeler gauge to get the gap right between the gas block and the shoulder of the barrel. That is a practice that I plan on doing on, you know, every build from here on out that uses a gas block or a DI system, is I'm going to be doing a gas block dimpling. And essentially all you're really doing is you're gonna use some like marking fluid, and then you're gonna mark where that fastener would hit the barrel, and then you'll pretty much use like a drill bit respective to the size of the fastener and pretty much create like a concave dimple in there. And that's not only going to index your gas block to be in the right place every time, but it's also going to keep it from coming loose or sliding after, you know, recoil over time. Lastly, I just want to demonstrate a drop test for you guys. I do this on all my guns ever since I built the first one. You don't have to necessarily do it like you see on Instagram where they drop it from like a parking garage or anything. It's just, you're really just making sure the sear stays engaged under turbulence, or whatever you want to call it. Making sure that the hammer isn't going to release from the sear on the trigger is you're basically just going to make sure that it's cocked back like it is. And what you're going to do is you're just going to tap around that trigger. So the trigger is you can tap around these two roll pins just to see if it's going to release itself. And you put on safe. This is cool. This is a real Avid armorer's wrench. I mentioned this in a discussion post in my class this week. Pretty cool. So it's got all these barrel nut adapters for stuff, and it's got a 1/2-inch drive for a torque wrench as well. But this is like a rubber hammerhead. It's actually softer than this one. But if you don't want to mar up, or if you're using if you have like a wood furniture for whatever reason you're testing it, you could use one of these too. And then the other thing you'd want to make sure to do is to do like a butt stock test. This stock has a pretty hefty recoil pad. It's probably going to absorb a lot of the shock, which is kind of good. I mean, you're trying to imitate as if it were to get dropped in the field or whatnot. But yeah, essentially you're just going to take the rifle and just flip it on safe and kind of like tap the butt end of the stock on a hard surface like concrete or something, and then try the same thing with it on fire. Make sure that hammer doesn't drop. But that's really all I got for you guys in this video. Well, I got nothing else for you guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Make sure you train, because a good shooter with a shitty gun is always going to outshoot a bad shooter with a really good gun. So, you know, as I always say, just stay strapped and stay safe. Later.